Hello again, word lovers. Now, etymology is a good way of guessing words you don't know in a foreign language. If you don't know the actual word, look at the parts of the word, see if you can identify any, follow it back from there. I'll give you an example. When I was studying Russian, we were given the words "miedny vsadnik" to translate. Neither of them were familiar to us, so the teacher encouraged us to relate them to words we already knew. Well, mied, that's kind of like miod, which means honey. Okay, good. And vsadnik, right, sad is garden. Okay. Vsad would mean in the garden, and nik is often, could be to describe a person or a profession. So vsadnik, an in the garden person. Good, gardener, the honey gardener. We triumphantly exclaimed, no, bronze horseman, in fact. So it doesn't always work, but I do wonder. Miod, maybe it's connected, maybe it's the colour of honey, maybe that's why it was called that. Vsadnik, I've discovered, is nothing to do with the garden, it's sadit, to sit, like the English word. Sit, sadit, a seated person, so somebody sitting on a horse. And this we translate as the Bronze Horseman. Of course, it's the Pushkin, the famous Pushkin poem, the Bronze Horseman. But it's not bronze in Russian. Медный means made of copper. Kopieka is another word for horseman that they have, which leads us nicely onto kopek. So you might think, well, kopek is connected with a horseman, but it's connected with kopio, which means a spear, because on the first kopeks there was a picture of a horseman with a spear, and it took the name from the word for spear. Kopecks, I should explain, are the small coins, the ruble being the big coin in Russia. Ruble, of course, coming from the Russian word to cut, rubit, although we don't really know that. Wikipedia said in the Russian page of ruble, it said etymology see French, so I did. I saw the French, and on the French page it said etymology see Russian. So now all this is by way of a cautionary tale, because we're going back to English now, and we're looking at what are called folk etymologies. These are etymologies where, again, it seems obvious. You think, all right, well, it must be this, isn't it? Belfry, my favourite example. A belfry is a place with a bell in it, isn't it? So it must be bell plus something. Nothing could be further from the truth. It comes from a word which means a wooden siege tower on wheels, and it's from late 13th century French. Beffroi, movable siege tower. If you'd like to go a little bit further back, we can go to Burg Fritu, which means high place of security. We're going into Proto-Germanic now, everybody be careful. High place, Berg, well that's a mountain in German, we know that, don't we? Or it could be somebody who watches over peace. Bergen would come to mean to protect somebody from a higher place. The Pi roots here are Berg, meaning high, which slides into hills and thence hill forts, and Frithu, peace or personal security. So what happened? Well, the English, they gave this name to the church towers, which contained the bells, but they simply changed it from the old sense to bell, putting the word bell in, because it must be to do with a bell, mustn't it? It's got a bell in it. A chaise longue, we're still in France, came to England and suffered the usual hammering that the English give to the French language and became a chaise longue. I still don't know if pret-à-manger is called that or pret-manger, to be honest. But anyway, chaise longue, and that long because you sort of lounge on it. Well, you already have you lounge on it, and that's why some people began to call the sitting room the lounge. Female, you think, well, that's obviously male. It's a male, and the kind of opposite, female. That's why it's called, isn't it? No, it's not. It's the French again. Femme, femelle, being a diminutive, young woman. Femelle, because the word male already existed, to the English ears it sounded like femelle, but it's the corresponding, it must be female. So the spelling changed to reflect that mistaken folk etymology, as did the word bridegroom. Bridegroom, bride, hooray, one that sounds like the old word. Guma, an old word for man. So that became the bridesman, guma, the man of the bride. However, grooming, the idea of a groom, a person who groomed you, if you were a lord, or your horses, or melded into it and became bridegroom. Sounded easier to. A groom was already kind of a young man, so that made some sense. But again, another folk etymology. And here's one that goes the world over. Hamburger. The actual etymology is everybody knows it, don't you? Already know it. And what I want to talk about, the fact that Hamburg means somebody who lives in Hamburg. Now, isn't it a nice coincidence that that contains the word ham, which has nothing to do with the ham in Hamburg? Oh, Berg takes us back to the burger before, doesn't it? Anyway, yes. So then we thought, well, if hamburger, I say we, people thought, well, it must, hamburger, look at it, it must be whatever a burger is, it must be that, but made of ham. So you can have a chicken burger and a beef burger and a veggie burger, and therefore burger began to mean a sort of the bun, didn't it, really? It's not what a burger is, something in a bun. Well, you can see how it works, can't you? Another of my food favourites is the Russian word salat, which means lettuce, because presumably, I'm guessing, they encountered the idea of the salad from warmer countries, the Mediterranean countries, and it was principally lettuce, so they imagined it was called lettuce, but of course a salad. We all know what salad means. It means vegetables and leaves, except that it doesn't. It means salted. We're describing the salt you put on the vegetables and the leaves to make them taste better, to keep them fresh. So there you go. Lettuce, salad, salted, salt, salary, worth his salt. You know all that.